What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Victory Life Legacy Spotlight. Today, I'm so excited. I have a 757 ambassador, one of the best players to ever play at Oscar Smith, also a standout running back at Virginia Tech. We have JC Coleman in the house today. I'm a big fan of JC, his family, the Coleman family. As I mentioned, the 757 ambassador. So, JC, how you doing, man?
I'm doing amazing, man. I really want to say I appreciate you for having me on, man. It's been a great group of guys that you've had on the show, and I'm glad to be a part of that group. But I'm doing very well, man. Very well. I can't complain at all.
Yeah, and I'm glad to have you on. It is an honor, man. Like I said, I've been good friends with your uncles and your dad. I met them years ago as you were being recruited, and I've had some great phone conversations with them, man. And this has been a long time coming. And speaking of your career and you as a person, man, today we're going to focus on your legacy. And you have been one of the key at the time when you were coming to Tech, one of those key guys that helped recruit and that VA pride, that 757, uh, those players to come to Virginia Tech. But before all that started, just like me, I'm from the Peninsula, you from the South Side. Let's take it back. Let's start off when it all started. Let's talk about you growing up. Let's talk about where you grew up and who got you into playing sports. And were there other sports? Were you into track? Because you're not just a football player. So let's start off where you from, when it all got started.
Yeah, man. Was born in Norfolk. Grew up in Virginia Beach for a little while, probably until about 5 or 6 or so. Then we moved out to Suffolk, Suffolk, Virginia. It's probably about I would say 35 minutes or so from the beach. Um, Kind of in that Kingsport,
Mm-hmm.
Kingsport zone, Kingsport High School zone. That's where Chuck Clark went to.
Yep.
Um, but just kind of going back there, growing up, was heavily involved in sports. Parents started me out at a very young age. I think I started football at the age of 4. Started football at the age of 4, but played, soccer, basketball. Then got into track at about the age of 7. Um, but I would say, before I came like the household name JC Coleman in football, I was more so like a track runner, honestly. Man, um, started out at 7 years old with the Suffolk Stars track club, and then from there went to we had a team called the Norfolk Real Deal, which had produced a ton of talent. You know, Sean Mayer ran with us. Can't think of some of the other guys right now off the top of my head, but the Sean Mayer ran with us, man. Just an awesome group of teams. But you know, um, just kind of growing up in track. My dad he kind of introduced me to that, and from the age of about 8 to I would say about 15, just constant traveling, going to Junior Olympics, breaking national records. Um, every single year, I probably had about 50 or 60 national title one, 50 or 60 national titles, at the Olympics and everything like that too. So track was kind of that one thing that kind of led to football. I would say, it helped out a whole lot. Um, with my speed and agility and help with a whole lot of my coordination as well. So it was kind of like that track piece and then the football piece as well.
Yeah, JC, is funny, man, because when I look back on your career, I saw you do some great things in the football field, but also knew you were tough. And you had to be because you were an undersized athlete, but at the same time, you never backed down from anybody. I saw you play at Tech, I saw you play at Oscar Smith. I saw you guys help you lead your team to a state championship, which we'll talk about a little later. But where'd you get your toughness from, man? Because was it something, because you mentioned Suffolk, and I know a lot about you. I did not know you lived in Suffolk. Growing up in the
Yeah, man.
7-5, we don't. Suffolk gets a lot of love, but they've been coming up here lately. But at one time, that's just basically was the country. But that place has grown a lot. Where'd you get your toughness from, man? Is that something your family pushed in you, instilled in you? Where'd that come
Yeah,
from?
it really is, man. And I'll say I was always kind of a tough kid. I had an older brother, me and him, and he played football as well, Brandon early. And me and him used to go back and forth. He was 7 years older than me, so kind of um, hanging around him, and kind of just taking after him. He instilled some of that toughness in me, and it's kind of weird. You know, we had a different dynamic from, you know, the kids these days. We were outside a whole lot. And I had, you know, in my community in Suffolk, man, it was probably about, I would say about 15 to 20 of us that we were able to just be outside and play those pickup games. You know, we're playing, you know, in the street, we're playing tackle in the street, and we're we're running into cars and all type of stuff, man. So I got a lot of my toughness there. But then I'll tell you this. So I played Pop Warner ball with a club called Finish Creek. And I was kind of, you know, I was really good, of course, you know, a great group of guys, played with them. But I say the turning point with toughness, I would say, was when I played with the Wolfpack. I don't know if you ever heard
I
of
know
them.
about the Wolfpack. Yeah.
Yeah, Wolfpack. So yeah, on my team, man, I had Trey Nicholson, I had Anthony Cooper, I had Eli Hurd, I had uh AJ Staten, um, what's his name? Ant C, he passed away. But you know, on that team, we probably had about 10 guys on loan that played and went to D1 football. But on that team, you know, we had three coaches: Coach Lely, Coach Pig, and Coach Bebe. Those guys were the toughest coaches that, you know, I've probably ever played with. And I'm talking about, it's 5 minutes before the game, and we're doing hitting drills. We're on the team. It's kind of like a scare tactic. So we're in the middle of the field and we're doing hitting drills, like literally right at coin toss. And it was every single day. It was like nonstop. You doing hitting drills. You tackling to the ground. You doing everything, man. And the way that coaching style, man, the way they were real up in your face. They were real hard on us. And that's where that's kind of like a turning point with like toughness, man. It's like you can't be soft and play for those guys, man. And then it's just the talent that I was around too. You know, everybody was hitting hard, everybody was fast, everybody was physical. So it was like one of them things where you got to step up your game if you want to play with Wolfpack, man. And that's why those coaches were real successful, because, you know, not only did they have, you know, real good talent all the time, but they just instilled, you know, real big toughness on everybody, man. And it was real fun. So that team, we were traveling. Oh, this is a real cool story. So we were traveling all over the place, man. You know, we're going all through Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and then and we won a national championship. We blew some team out from California, out by about 40 points or something in Florida. So after that, you know, we're kind of like a national recognized team.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, you know, somehow we got invited to Miami, Florida. We were going to be recognizing with it was like a all-star type of challenge out there that they do every single year. And I think it was hosted by Chad Johnson or something. So they were hosted, and it's a whole lot of the Miami teams. They would go and plug, you know, get like the top talent from, you know, Florida, and everybody would go down and have their game. So we were being represented by the Clips. So Pusha T, and I can't think of any of the guys, but Pusha T was kind of like our sponsor at the time. So he, you know, he paid for the trip and got us down there. So we got down there, and we played one All-Star team from Broward or something like that. Then we played another All-Star team from like Northern Florida. Then our final game was the Chad Johnson All-Stars. And this at the time, I know they probably, I think when I look back on it, I think they had about 14 to 15 D1 guys that eventually went and played D1.
Mm.
We beat them guys. I think it was 12-zip, man. The game was crazy, man. But the speed that we saw from that team was insane, man. It was like the first snap. We were like, whoa. It was like, whoa, you know, because it was like the best players all from Miami. And but we didn't take any All-Stars. We didn't go and grab like some type of All-Star 757 All-Star team. We just went down there, you know, with our regular team, even though we were star-studded. We just went down there with our team and we beat, you know, all those All-Star teams, you know, from Miami and Florida and stuff like that.
I love it. I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
that was real dope, man. That was real dope.
Yeah, you know, I've always said that, man. And we're gonna talk about, you know, VA's own and the legacy that you guys continued after I left, and Tyrod. That's what I love about our state, especially our area. You mentioned Lily, man. So when I was coaching youth ball, I ran into him when I was coaching the Commonwealth Warriors. We lost them in the States. He was coaching the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers were loaded. Even years before I was coaching youth ball, man. So I knew about the Wolfpack, I knew about the Cavaliers, and then a few years later, I found out about the Vikings. It's crazy to see Virginia Beach evolve and the whole South Side. Norfolk and Portsmouth I always knew about, but over the years, especially during your era, Virginia Beach started getting tons of talent. You mentioned Eli Harrell. I saw him play. He was an animal. He was one of the best athletes I saw play, and went to UVA and played defensive end and outside linebacker, so to speak. So that's a great time, man. And speaking of those guys, JC, you became a heavily recruited player, but did you even know you were going to be going to Oscar Smith? Did you even know that legacy was right in front of you? Like, or you just enjoying playing the game and having fun with your friends and teammates?
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, man. So when it came time to, of course, go to high school ball, I was zoned for Kingsport at the time, and I played, my ninth grade season. I started JV. I started varsity as a ninth grader. Crazy time, man. So my first game, actually, I had a first drive of the season. Had a really good drive. Had a really good drive. Probably had about 40 yards the first drive. Was going out. It was probably about on the 5-yard line, man. And this is still the first drive on the 5-yard line. I'm in my running back stance, and I do my normal, first step, and I ruptured my not ruptured, but I fractured my pelvic bone, man. Six crazy accident injury. Scored on the play actually, and that was my season-ending injury right there. So I didn't play the rest of my freshman year, with Kingsport. So, of course, the rest of the season, I'm watching, football. I'm watching the Friday Night Lights. I'm looking at, schools and everything. And Oscar Smith is like the school in the 757 or so. So it was real dope. And it came time to play them. And, I was just astounded by, that talent and the plays that they ran and everything like that. So it came time to the off season. And I was fully healthy and started going through camps and everything. And my dad was like, what would you like to do about possibly playing with Oscar Smith? I didn't think he was serious at the time or anything like that. So I was like, I would love to. I just seen them. I just watched them. Win the state championship. They won a state championship for the year actually. So we went to the camp, and they had a camp at Oscar Smith, and Coach Morgan was there. And during that time, he was kind of I think he was working some of the drills or something like that. And somehow I connected with him, and it just went from there, man. So then the 10th grade year, went over there, and that's when it all started. So I didn't know that. My dad just kind of brought it to me, and my dad brought it to me, and then we just went from there. And just huge sacrifices, for my dad and then my uncle as well. My uncle played a huge part in it because we had to move into the zone.
Yep.
So at the time, we still had our regular house in Suffolk, and then my dad and I we moved over to the Oscar Smith zone, probably about 2 minutes down the street. And my uncle, he helped pay for that as well. So definitely a blessing from my uncle, and just huge sacrifices from my dad to make sure I was in that position to go in and make it to the next level.
I'm not even surprised that your dad did that, man. He's a great man. Like I said, as we started this interview off, man, we've had some great conversation. I love his post because he gonna say what he feels, but he does care about you and he cares about other people. It's interesting, man, because you just erased the myth that Coach Morgan's out here giving guys deals and buying houses, and because Oscar Smith, I'm older than you. I'm a 90s guy, and before he got there, they weren't the dynasty that they are now. So all of a sudden, everybody like, yo, where did Oscar Smith come from? And state championships, regional championships, umpteen thousand conference wins in a row. And y'all got that wild interest I'm gonna talk about here in a second with the you guys in the cage and all of that.
Yeah.
It's good to hear that it was legit. Not that I had any speculation.
Yeah, so man. I had during that time I had never spoke to Coach Morgan like personally. Me and him had never spoke. I think my dad might have had a couple words, but I had never spoke to him. But I say, a lot of guys do transfer there, but he's not begging nobody to come.
Yep.
And he'll tell everybody that he's not begging nobody to come. He's gonna win with or without you. He'll say that to your face, like, JC, I'll win, with you here or without you here. And his track record speaks for that. But everything that I've seen was always legit. Guys did have to move into the zone, did have to move into the area. And this is crazy too, man. So, during that time, when everybody heard that, Jason was going to Oscar Smith and everything, my 10th grade year, of course they blew it up in the paper and made a big deal out of it and everything. So a lot of coaches started calling Chesapeake Public Schools and complaining that, it wasn't legit and the move wasn't legit, da da da. So I would say, man, probably throughout that year, man, every single week during the football season, I had a Chesapeake Public Schools car sitting outside of my parking lot of my apartment, like waiting for me to come out the door to go to school and see me catch the bus. And a couple of times they would knock on the door and be like, hey, we're just checking in to see if you move here. Oh, yeah, I'll come on in, man. And they checking to see if you got clothes in the closet and see if you got a bed and see if you got food. And they looking inside there. This was nuts, man. But, that's why I say, like, everything was legit. It had to be, because these guys, Chesapeake Public Schools, literally once or twice throughout the week, they was making sure I caught the bus or making sure I'm coming out of the apartment, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, man. That's why I said it was legit. And, when you're a winning program, Ocean Lakes went through that. Oscar Smith in my day was Hampton High. Great programs are going to get that kind of scrutiny, and it is what it is. You embrace that. I want to talk about Oscar Smith and Coach Morgan and the guys you play with, and just the competition that was bred throughout that program. You're not actually, you were supposed to be, I couldn't connect with you soon enough, but you're the second Oscar Smith player I've had on here. I had Mike White on here, Big Mike, that played at the University of Miami. And, he has a crazy story, but it's a unique one because he's overcome so much. But he spoke on this show very openly about the level of talent, the competition, and how Coach Morgan and his coaching staff challenge you guys, man. And Oscar Smith over the last several years is, me talking about you, Andrew Brown, who was a National Gatorade Player of the Year, Philip Sims, who went to Alabama, who set all kinds of passing records, and then of course yourself, and then gosh, who we forgetting? The receiver that went to Tech with you.
Bradshaw.
Bradshaw. Again, I don't want to admit anybody because there's so many guys that we can think about. Deshaun McLeese, who was a dynamic running back, a great player like yourself. What was it like at Oscar Smith? You guys are younger than me. I saw you guys play on TV. The one thing I was impressed with, from just a fan of Virginia high school football and a fan of the Tidewater area, was that around the time you guys were playing, ESPN started doing the Friday Night Lights on the high school level. And Coach Morgan started saying, we're going to play Florida guys from Dade County. We're going to play teams from the South, Georgia. And I was like, wow. And you guys were on ESPN, man. But before you talk about how you guys played on TV, talk about what went on, what you remember your years at Oscar Smith when you were there, and not giving away any secrets, though, but just the level of competition. How was it? How was it, man?
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you this, man. It was totally different from Kings Fork, and no disrespect to Kings Fork at all, man, because that's a great program as well. But it started out with your summer conditioning and the way we lifted and conditioning and everything, man. That first summer, I'll never forget it. I completely changed my body just because of what we were doing on a day-to-day basis, man. I'm talking about, we were going out there, we were running 400s, and it started out like a track workout. And everything. And then we would go into the weight room, and I had never ever lifted like that before, man. As far as the program, man, like it was insane, man. The way that Coach Morgan, he pushed us in the weight room. He had a real clean and strong program, and it's crazy because he ran everything, man. It's like he was the officer coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams, and then he did the weightlifting part too. So the dude is just, I can't even explain it, man. But the dude is just a genius when it comes to, navigating through all that stuff, man. But what I remember is, just really intense workouts. And he really pushed us every single day. And that South Norfolk Chesapeake area, it's already flooded with talent in the first place, man. But when you add a guy like Coach Morgan there with his program and everything that he did and was doing, and all he had to just instill a little bit of discipline in those guys, which he was a master at doing. That's why that team was really successful over the years like that, man.
Talk about, man, JC. Let's get some nostalgia on this show, man. Talk about how it was. One thing I miss, and I loved going through that tunnel. I didn't have the interest you had with Enter Sandman, but we had the sellout crowds. But that's Virginia Tech. But what people realize when they come visit the Tidewater area is that, especially during my era and your era, the high school Friday nights are nostalgic. Oscar Smith had a great entrance. And talk about the entrance and also some of your favorite games and memories. Who was your rivals? Who were some of the games you like? Yo, Vic, I remember we played this one team, or we played Deep Creek. Take me back to
Yeah.
the times when you guys were playing and what Friday night lights meant for you when you reflect on your time at Oscar Smith.
Yeah, man. Shoot, man. First of all, man, that entrance was insane. I never forget the first time I seen it. I went to an Oscar Smith playoff game and seen it for the first time. I'm like, yeah, these dudes rocking out like this out here, man. Yeah. I was like, yo, this is insane. These dudes going hard like this. But that was real fun, man. It really got you going for the game, and that was something that people really look forward to. We look forward to coming out of that cage, man. It was a pride. And we started traveling with the cage and taking it to other teams' home field as well. So it was real sweet. But just kind of going through what I remember at Oscar Smith, man, the best I could. It's a while ago now, but we did have some rivalries, man, and even though we were real star-studded and loaded, we had some rivalries with Grassfield, man. They were in our district, and Grassfield wasn't one of them teams that had a whole lot of like star guys. They just played real good, tough football every single time we played them, real physical. They had some guys I think that went to like D1 AA schools or something like that, but they were real big is what I remember. They were real big and they were real physical, and they can just control the ball because they had a huge offensive line. They can control the ball and stuff like that. But I'll never forget it. It was like I think it was my sophomore or junior year, and it was like the playoff game. It was one of the playoff games, and we had to play them back to back. We had to play them the second game, the last game of the season, and then the way it shook out, we had to play them like the first game. So it was two tough games back to back. I think the first game we beat them by about 14 or something like that, but real tough game. And then the the game in the playoffs, they had us beat the entire game. They had to beat the entire game. I want to say they was blowing us out too. I think they got out on us real quick. We had a couple of turnovers or something like that, and we were able to come back and beat them. But those were some good matchups. And then Bayside as well.
Bayside.
They had Quinn Bland and they had Trey Nicholson. They had Deion Stitt at the time too. They had who else did they have? They had Smoke Marcel. Yeah, Smoke was there. So those are some rivals too. And there was a rival too, and that used to always start back at in passing league. So in passing league, we won't got the pads on and stuff like that. But we we always used to travel to Virginia Beach for their passing league because those teams were kind of like the better teams in the area for the most part. And we used to always go at it with them in Ocean Lakes and Salem too at the time. But Salem too.
See, the more you remember, the more you start to realize.
Salem was definitely one of those teams that was a rivalry as well, man. Bucky Hodges and Andrew Matua Kawaka was there.
Yeah. Congratulations on saying his name right. I can't ever get it right. And I watched him for several years at Tech. I can never say his last name right.
Yeah. So yeah, man, those three teams is kind of like like you circle those on the schedule and you're gonna play them at some point.
Man, JC, just hearing those names, I got a hoodie on, but I'm getting chills, man, because those were some great players, and I love the fact that most of y'all stayed in state, so that same energy was seen at the UVA Tech rivalry, and we'll talk about that a little later. But I mean, that was so cool. The fact that you had those relationships, and many of those relationships and battles started when y'all were young. So it was authentic, it was intense, at times personal, but then after the game was over, y'all were brothers. That was so amazing about it. That's how it was coming up for me as well. Talk about though the championship, because I will tell you, man, like, I'm a grown man, I'm a father now, and I'm older. And even when I reflect on my high school career, I think back, man, we were so close. We lost to Norcom one year when they had David Turner. They won state. We lost to Allen Iverson, Chuck. They won state. And I played football and basketball. And you always remember your what ifs or we should have.
Yeah.
You actually got to that mountaintop, with Oscar Smith. You won the state championship. Talk about that season and the actual game and what it meant to bring another chip to Oscar Smith trophy case.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna take it back to my sophomore year, because my sophomore year, I felt like that was the year that we were supposed to win it that year too. And we got to the state semis and we played Thomasdale, man. And that was one of the year. It was like a big snowstorm had hit Virginia, and they canceled they postponed and canceled all the games except for ours at the time. And
why is that? Why?
Yeah, I might get to that now. So literally every single game in the state was canceled. And somehow, I don't know how, but I think the Thomasdale coach was like, nah, we want to go ahead and play it. Let's play it, da, 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 da. So the field was completely mud, man. I mean, the field was completely mud. And, on our team at that time, we had Quincy Fundenberg, Charlie, who went to Arkansas, Charlie Ricks, who went to Maryland, or had offers from Maryland, something like that. I don't think he ended up going. We were star-studded unit. I had myself, of course, and then we had Phil Sims. Phil Sims was the quarterback. So he coming off, his senior year. I had a really strong year. Quinte had about 1,400 yards receiving. Charlie had about another 1,800. I think he broke Tim Smith's record that year. Mm-hmm. So we were star-studded, man, and that Thomasdale team knew it. So they were kind of like a run team. That's Smash Mouth football team. Yep. So we wanted to play in that field, and our coach Morgan, you know how he is, man. He was kind of, he got that confidence. Well, if they want to play it, let's go in and play it then. Man, he should have said no. So, during that time, the field was soaking wet. There's puddles in it. I'll never forget it. We lost it in overtime. That was the most carries I had gotten throughout it. We were a passing team. We had Phil Sims, the best quarterback in the nation. I had about 30 carries that game. I would have never got 30 carries on any type of drive field or anything. So that just goes to show, like, we had to completely switch up the game plan. I think it had 30 carries for like 250 yards or something like that. Real crazy. Yeah, it was crazy, man. But we lost that game, and that's what I was in my mind. I was like, yo, that hurt, man. That one right there hurt. And I was like, if I ever get to state semis, we're gonna bring it home. So junior year, we had fell short to Bayside. Bayside had beat us. And then my senior year, that's when I was like, all right, fellas, this is where we gotta go and make it happen. I was the senior of the team, leader of the team, and we gotta go make it happen. So we had a phenomenal season. I think we lost only our first game. We lost to Gilman. That was the team we played from Maryland on ESPN, Baltimore, yep. Maryland. Mm-hmm. They had Ira Jones, who went to Alabama. He killed us, but that's that. But we went on a route. We rided off about 14 or 15 straight and won a state championship, man. And I'll never forget it, man. During the state championship, man, we were loaded, but we played Centralville. And they had Kenny Canham.
Kenny Canham. I watched that game.
Yep. They had Kenny Canham, man, and they were just no match, man. They were just no match. We had a ton of speed over there. You could just tell, like, the speed just overwhelmed them, man. And I wasn't even fully healthy that game. I think I had 3 touchdowns, but they were kind of
but you weren't 100%. They just said that. I watched the TV version. I was at home. Even though, on the side note, Centerville did get y'all back a few years later.
They did.
They did.
Yeah, they sure did.
Kenny Cannon was letting everybody know. He was on the sideline with his VT Letterman jacket on. But they remember that. But you won the state champ. I mean, you guys really showed out that day. And what was it like? I mean, so it was just memorable. I mean, is it still?
Yeah, for sure, man. Because and the reason why I brought up that sophomore story is because I was hurt, man. And, I went to Oscar Smith to play in those games, and I remember, first of all, we shouldn't have been playing. I felt like it was strictly that because we shouldn't have been playing. Literally every other game was canceled, and I felt like we shouldn't have been playing, and we was kind of at an unfair advantage. So I remember that feeling, man, and I took it real personal going into my senior year. When we set those goals and said, hey, this is what we want to do, and we're not being denied of it. And I worked my hardest and just went crazy in the weight room, and the team and Coach Morgan, he puts us extra. And we had a real solid group of guys. Saquon Jennings, Saquon Gooden, he went to Hampton, JJ Williamson, and the three of us, man, we just kind of put the team on our back and just really carried that thing throughout the year. And when it came to state championship, man, it was kind of like a sour relief because it's like, dang, like it really made it. And I'll never forget, walking out onto the field, onto the UVA field, I remember like getting real teary-eyed because it was like, dang, like I'm finally here. Like I'm finally, like this is the goal. Like this right here is the goal. And I remember walking through and like really feeling that. And it's like, yo, let's finish it. Let's finish it out. And I sat in front of the team that day, and I was still teary-eyed a little bit. Like, yo, we've been talking about this for all season. Let's go finish this thing off. Let's go get us a ring. We preached, getting our own ring throughout the entire time. And finally when that, I wish it was kind of like a close game because it would have meant a little bit more. But we had it, after about, we already knew we was gonna win after the second quarter, so it kind of took some of the steam off of it. But when they blew that final whistle, it was like, yo, this is what it's supposed to feel like. It felt real good. And then when that ring came, man, it was like, yo, that was crazy. I put that Oscar Smith ring up against any of my tech rings. It was a real nice ring too.
Oh, that was nice. I've seen it, man.
Yeah.
And the feeling and the great thing about winning state championships, no matter what state you live in, but especially because we have so much pride in our state, it's special because, Texas and Florida and California always get a lot of attention, even Pennsylvania. But Virginia's right there and always has been. Not so much, we're not talking about just talent. We're talking about just, what it means. Like we take sports seriously too, especially in our region. And especially during that time when you had to go through hell and back to get out the Eastern region,
Right.
And you did. And, congratulations to you and those guys. I watched that game and I remember thinking, man, we're getting some talent. And I mean, we in Virginia Tech. So let's talk about that. So all those years, you got the injury at Kings Ford, you went through some adversity. Then you got people saying y'all cheating and you lying about your address, but then you go there, you link up with Philip Sims and all those boys at Oscar Smith, and you see, Mike talked about this, Mike White, this guy's going here, these schools are in Oscar Smith coming to see these kids. Who was some of the first schools to offer you, and what made you start going to Tech and creating that pipeline that you started and guys like Deshaun McCleese and everything like that? So talk about your recruitment and how'd you end up choosing Virginia Tech?
Yeah, man. So the first kind of schools that kind of really offered me and got in contact with me was Florida. So Florida and West Virginia were kind of like, they were in the first, and I'm like, hey, I might go out of state, man. This is crazy. And that was when, Florida had Urban Meyer. So, yeah, that was when they had Urban Meyer.
Ridiculous.
Exactly, man. So I'm like, yo, I'm getting. I went down to their camp, had a really good camp, talked to Urban Meyer, everything, man. And Percy Harvin went there, man. So my mind automatically went to Percy Harvin, and he was like, yeah, we would love to use you like Percy Harvin, all over the place and doing this and doing that. So I'm like, man, I'm sold on Florida at this point. Urban Meyer went to Ohio State, lost contact, and that was kind of it from there. So West Virginia, they kept their offer, and I'm still thinking like out of state, like I'm still looking at West Virginia, and they had Pat White, Steve Slayton, dynamic offense, man, real dynamic offense. And then who was their coach at the time? I can't think of who their coach was, but real good coach. But then he ended up leaving, and I think. And then just kind of lost contact there as well. Still had the offer, but I didn't know who the coach was and all that stuff. So I just kind of fizzled off from there. And then that's when UVA offered, and then Tech offered, and then kind of like the rest of the ACC and some of the, some of the other schools, like the Big Ten schools and stuff like that too. But, I was, at first, I would say, I was a little pissed off at Virginia Tech at first. because UVA offered first, and then Virginia Tech was real late. And I'm like, hold on, man. Like, what's going on? Like, this is the in-state school. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the in-state school. at this point, I probably built up about 15 offers, and Tech still hadn't offered anything yet. So I was like, man, fuck Tech, man. I'm not messing with them. So, I started taking a couple of visits with UVA and Mike London, man. He did a really good job. Mike London, Chip West, I felt comfortable there. I felt real comfortable there for sure. And then, they were building up a lot of momentum with, with the 7-5 guys and stuff like that too. So I'm like, shoot, it's a lot of 7-5 guys. They might be able to turn this thing around. So Tech finally offered, man, and Coach Newsom, I can't remember what he had said. I think he was dealing with something. He was like my primary recruiter. I think he had got sick or something had happened. He was, very apologetic, and he was like, yo, basically like, we want you here. I'm sad that, we waited this long. This is why I waited this long. I couldn't get here. I think he was dealing with a sickness at the time. I was like, all right, okay, so they are in the mix. Okay. So, started it at that point, I started really focusing on those two schools. And what really set Virginia Tech apart was when I got there, I think I took my first visit, really good visit, felt real comfortable and everything. And, it was just a different vibe, because, the thing with UVA, they were trying to get up and coming. Like, they were trying to get going, they were trying to build that momentum versus Tech. You walk around, everybody got their rings on, everybody's preaching, 10-game season, 10-game winning season. We've, been to this many bowl games. So it was kind of like a difference. It was like, all right, you got a school over here that's already successful, then you got one that could possibly turn it around. So the thing that sold it for me was the spring games. So Coach Morgan, he had told me, he was like, I went to UVA spring game, man, and the energy was just not there at all. And that was kind of like the final straw. I was like, man, I can't play in this, man. I was like, this ain't for me. This don't feel like me, man. Like they doing a really good job, recruiting, and I felt comfortable with the coaching staff and everything, but the energy not here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the energy not here. Like the fan base is just something feels off. So I think it was 2 weeks later, and 2 weeks later, and Tech had their spring game, man, and Coach Morgan already knew what was up, man. He was like, yo, you gonna go up there and it's probably gonna be 50,000 in the stands. And he was like, he said, don't go over there and get too excited and recruit and go ahead and commit on me, because it's going to be So, I got up there, man, and sure enough, man, they rolled out the red carpet for me. They did an excellent job, and I was kind of like, the recruit that day. And they was bringing back, and that was another thing, man. They did a really good job of bringing everybody back. I met Mike Vick that day. I met all, and that was another thing they did. So it was a lot of the older running backs. I think Mike Emo was there, Kevin Jones was there. Who was some of the other running backs that I met that day? I met about 5 of the other running backs that, I had kind of grew up watching and knew about them, and, and kind of, they were kind of talking to me about them throughout their recruiting stage. They're like, yeah, man, but all of them was like, yo, yeah, man, come on, man, we gonna run, you already know Virginia Tech gonna run this ball, man, every single time, So I got there, and, the crowd was into it, the game was real good, they probably had about 50,000 there, and I'm like, I looked over to my right, like, that, man, this feels like, this feels like home right here, man. This is my second visit, and I committed, man, and it just felt real good. It felt real natural, felt real good. So that was kind of how my recruiting went in a nutshell, man. Virginia Tech, they just made me feel, real comfortable right from the get-go. Coach Shane did a really good job whenever I had meetings with him. The whole coaching staff, man, and then the facilities were kind of sell for me. They were head and shoulders, better than UVA's facilities at the time. And they were talking about I think they had just built the indoor practice facility. So, that was a big sale too, man. And the weight room had looked real cool. And they was like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and renovate this again. And da-da-da. So, it was just a lot. I saw a whole lot of, growth over there. And then the difference, man, is they really preached the 10-game winning season and the rings and everything. Like, man, I'm going to go here and win rings and stuff, man. This after I just came off of winning the ring with them. So, I Smith, so I'm like, shoot, I want more rings. And that was kind of a big sale for me too.
JC, when you were at Tech, man, it was a bit of a transition. It was because it was comparatively speaking, compared to when I was there, I was there during the rise. We were building, we were ascending, the Sugar
Mhm.
Bowls, Cornell Brown, myself, and all those guys. And then, of course, Mike comes through, takes him to a national championship game appearance. And then all of a sudden, we joined the ACC, and Tyrod and Beamer's got the state on lock. And that created the culture that you came in and you were a part of. But then all of a sudden, when you were there was some trans coaches. They're older. Clemson is starting to come up. Florida State gets Jimbo. It starts to be a different time. New offensive coordinators, Scott Leffler. But you still had some remarkable games. I still remember being there. I actually got sick, but I was on the sideline when you rushed for that Military Bowl record. I was on the
Yep.
sideline watching you, but then I had to leave. I got sick. I had the flu. And then I saw
Mhm.
you that Black Friday night. I believe it was Virginia Tech's first ever Black Friday night. And that night
Yep.
I tailgated with your dad and your uncle. And we talked about how important that game was. Your dad and I talked about how I just felt good. I think I went on the radio that day, did a show and talked about how you were going to have a breakout game because it was kind of interesting. It was you, number 4, Smoke Mizell, number 4.
Yep.
And then you
Yep.
had Bucky and you had Eli Harold. And that was
Yep.
also the game that you guys met at the middle of the field. And I thought we were going to see
Yeah.
some wrecking going on, but you guys were just turfing. It was all VA love. But
Yeah.
those are my memories of your career. But tell me about your time at Tech. You can be honest, the good, the bad. I mean, everybody has good and bad. And I think that's what fans
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
realize. And I respect guys like yourself because you came and you had a role, but then you had other backs, Marshawn and Shy McKenzie. And that's how college football works. But that's what I remember. I want to hear from you. What do you remember about the great times or some stuff that maybe sometimes was difficult?
Yeah, man. I say for sure, man. First, it was a really good. I had, even though it was up and down, I enjoyed my time at Virginia Tech, man. And I tell people all the time, people always ask me, especially after my junior season, senior season, so they're like, do you wish you had went somewhere else? And I'm like, nah, man. I wouldn't change it for nothing, man. I think, during that time, um, I grew as a man, I grew as a person. Um, because of a lot of reasons, that I'll touch on. But just some of the good times, man. I think about that Duke game my freshman year. I rushed for 182 yards or something like that.
Yep.
Something crazy. And and that was kind of all right, yeah, like Jason, you can play on this level, man. Like you know it. And then the following week, um, this is crazy, man. The following week, I think we played Clemson, and I'm going at it with DeAndre Hopkins, and I look back at it now, and I'm like, yo, like he really turned it up in the NFL now. And his comment to me was, nah, hey, Coleman, number 4, you're not gonna rush for all them yards against us. This week we ain't Duke, we going at it, and it was all fun and games, but that's kind of like, I feel like at that point, like I made it, because I'm watching Sammy Watkins and I'm watching DeAndre Hopkins, and to be going at it as a freshman, be going at it with those type of guys, man, like guys you didn't watch, Clemson and stuff, that was crazy. But really went to that Duke game, and then you went to the sophomore season, man, and that was, I think, if there was any mistake or decision that I can have back, it would be that one. So I had a really good, strong, freshman year where I was coming off of, I think I started about eight or nine games or something like that, and had a really good, really solid freshman year. Sophomore year, I ended up having a couple of injuries. I think in camp I had sprained both my ankles at the same time. That crazy injury, man, and I was real. I think I sat out about 6 games, but I was real anxious to get back onto the field, man. I'm watching Trey Edmonds, he's tearing it up. And I'm like, yo, like, this is my running back, nigga. I want to get out there with you. So I kind of rushed to get back, never got back, fully healthy, limped around the field, was kind of like a decoy in a sense, and just never really got that going. And I wasted a year when I really should have redshirted.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came time to make the decision, Coach Shane, he sat me down. He said, "Do you want to redshirt? Do you want to play?" It was kind of always, it was up to me. But I'm trying to play, man. I want to get out there. I feel like I can go. But that was the worst decision that I made, man. I should have just redshirted and got that extra year, and that would have been, real good on the back end. But so sophomore year, that was a waste, and the junior year, that was when it all happened. So junior year, oof, I can't remember. Did I start the season out starting? I can't really remember. But I had a excellent spring, an excellent summer, man. Broke the front squat record, a little bit of everything, man. And I think I did start that season. I can't quite remember, but that was when Marshawn and those guys, Marshawn and Shai came in.
Yep.
And that was when we got Coach Leffler as well. And Coach Leffler, he was very enamored with the bigger backs. Like he would tell you, and that's what he ended up telling me, man. He loved the bigger backs, and it kind of showed, man. And next thing I know, man, I was like, I'm on the bench for 6-7 games straight. I'm like, yo, like what's going on? Like, this is crazy. Like we're not playing at all. So that was real tough. And then, to get back into those guys got hurt, and then I think Shai got into some trouble or something. I can't quite remember.
Yeah.
But throughout that time, like my mindset was always like, yo, the opportunity can come up at any time. Just be ready. And I took on those last 5 games of the season and was able to finish it out strong. So real good times for sure, man. Real good times.
I got to be honest with you, and I'm honest with anybody. I don't even know why I said that, but I remember that, and I remember, thinking you were going to leave. I mean, because it's now guys will come on Twitter and they'll give you a cryptic tweak, or they'll be like, deuces, or they express themselves. And you were viewed as a leader at that time on the Virginia Tech team. And guys respected you, and Logan and all those guys. I mean, people look to you. I remember one time, funny story is, I remember Greg Stroman and a kid named Charles Tutt, who went to JMU, and then also Cam Phillips were there for an unofficial visit at Tech. And I met them up there. I was up there, and T. Gray was there. And I remember they had a panel of guys on the team speak, the leaders. And you and Logan, and I don't know who the other guy, I don't want to confuse eras, but I remember there was another guy on there. But you remember that? You spoke to the parents and the families. Yep. So yep. I say that to say that, man, the coaches respected you and the players respected you, because now in the era we live in now, especially with your credibility and your credentials you had at Oscar Smith and even at Virginia Tech, guys now, and not just at Tech, but everywhere, people don't sit, for 5-6 weeks knowing they should have some role on the team. So I respect for you not going to Twitter and not getting, and trying to ambush Tech on the 757, because guys do that. And you took pride in that, right? Being a leader, you knew you had a voice and a platform, but you chose to support your teammates. Is that what you remember as well?
Yeah, man. For sure. The last thing I want to do, and this is kind of what I grew up on, like my morals and my family and what we kind of stood for, man, was we didn't want to go out like that, man. We didn't want to go out like that at all. I had every right, man, because I felt like, I didn't get done right. I'm always felt like that, during that time. So I had every right to say, hey, like, this is what's going on. I can put it out there. I can go to, I'm still having interviews with Andy Bitter and I can't think of some of the other guys, some of the other reporters. I'm still having interviews.
David Till, Mike Barber, and all that. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I'm still having interviews weekly about this stuff, and they're asking me what's going on and why I'm not playing. And so I'm having to kind of swallow this and bottle all this stuff in, man. And I'm like, fuck, you know what I'm saying? And right now I'm bottling it in, and I could have easily said, it's the coach, it's whatever, you know what I'm saying? But when I think about that time, I'm like, we're not going. First of all, we don't want to be a cancer to the team. And, during that time, my dad, my mom, and my uncle, they were the best support system that I can possibly think of, man. And they would call me weekly just to check in on me. And what they preached every single week was, the time is coming. The time is coming. The time is coming.
Yeah.
The time is coming. The time is coming, man. And they would preach that every single week, and I started really believing in that, man. And next thing I know, my son went down, and then I think Trey hurt his shoulder, and it's like, even though it's like they tried Jig, and I think he might have had an injury, but it's like it was really crazy because we had about 4 backs to go down, and I still was not getting not one carry, not one play, not seeing anything. So at this point, I'm like, dang, man, I had a really good freshman year. They know what I can do. I practice hard all the time. I'm not a cancer to the team, anything. And, I'm still sitting back like, like even with 4 running backs down, I still can't even get a play.
Mm-hmm.
So it was real crazy, man. And, like I said at that time, man, what I remember is I just never wanted to become, I never wanted to give them an extra reason for them not to play me. Yeah. Put it like that. And that's why, I just kind of, kept coming to work and every single day, still going to practice and practicing hard, still trying to be a vocal leader, still trying to help the other guys and help them understand the playbook and assignments and the game plan for the week. And just really be a support system for the guys. But I was going through it, man.
Yeah, and believe it or not, a lot of us go through it. Even people like Michael Vick. I remember he was homesick, and he talked about like how he had to compete, for the position he earned against a guy by the name of Dave Meyer, and he was doubting himself. I mean, you believe it or not, a lot of guys go through it, man, and you persevere. And I think that is why some people in life become successful when some people are quick to just hit the exit, and I think that's what I respected about you, because you bounced back in that Military Bowl, and you had, it was an amazing game for you. I mean, you were killing it. And then you had that great game, as I mentioned, when Virginia Tech was 5-6 and had to win to remain bowl eligible. And you had that game that night. And then you followed up, as I just mentioned, with the Military Bowl. So you got in the zone. You finished the season strong, and you were there when they called on you. And I remember reading your quotes in the paper, not so much the paper, but like online, with those guys you mentioned, and all your quotes and all the media outlets I read. You said, I kept working hard and I stayed ready. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what you said. I do want to ask you about a moment. I think it was against your boy Jalen Holmes and all those guys at Ohio State when I think it was against him. Was it Ohio State? I don't know. What game was it when you had the watch on that everybody talks about when I posted this picture? Did you plan to rock the jewelry that day in the game? I had never seen that. And I remember saying, yo, JC got a watch on? Did you have somewhere to be? Like, was there something popping off after the game? Or that was just an accident? Tell everybody the story behind the watch, man.
Yeah, man. So I would always wear a watch in practice. So it started out with like a black G-Shock. My junior year, I would always wear, a watch in practice. I was kind of like the timekeeper, for the most part. Like, whenever we was like ready to be done with practice, guys would come over like, yo, how much time we got? What time is it? How much time we got left? Yo, we know JC got to watch it. So senior year, I'm still wearing a watch in practice. I'm still scrimmaging with the watch, all that type of stuff like that. And I can't remember, but I think it might have been either Donovan Raleigh or somebody. Somebody asked, it was like, I bet you want to wear it in the game. And I'm like, shoot, yeah, why wouldn't I? So knowing the guy that I am, man, I went and got the flashiest watch, the gold one, and this was right. This was right before, Ohio State. I'm like, shoot, we about to play on national television. I might as well go get the best watch I can find, the best G-Shock I can find. I found the gold one, and I wore it to practice. And they was like, man, we know you ain't wearing that for the game. Like, you're not gonna, like, we guarantee you're not wearing that for the game. I was like, well, I'm not. I heard that. So put the watch on, and I warmed up with it, and Coach Shane was like, yo, that's a sweet watch. So I'm like, so now I got his approval. I got his vouch. I'm like, shoot, we all good then. And I'll never forget it at halftime. I think we were playing pretty tough, right up until, Michael Brewer had got hurt.
Yep.
We had to be the game plan. But at halftime, I think we were either up or maybe down by about 7 points.
I think y'all were down. I think y'all were up 17-14. Y'all were leading, and Michael Brewer got hurt in the third quarter. His shoulder, he got that tough hit on him.
Yeah. But my mom, she waved me over there. She was like, you're viral right now. Whispering at me, you're viral right now. I'm like, what? For what? She
Mm-hmm.
said, because I'm like, oh shoot. I go in the locker room and I'm checking my stuff. I didn't got probably about 7,000 more followers on Twitter, and everybody,
Mm-hmm.
taking a picture of it, and it was going crazy, man. And that was insane. So, after the game, of course, it went crazy, and even though we lost, but after the game, Coach Beamer, he brought it that following practice. Uh, he said, "Oh, at the end of practice, because JC wants to wear a watch, we got to
Uh-oh.
do."
I know Beamer. I know
Yeah.
him.
So he circled everybody up. Everybody had 5 up downs, and he just brought me in. He's like, "Man, don't wear it again." I had to watch them do 5 up downs, matter of fact, but everybody kind of laughed it off, and it was all a good time for sure. But
You mentioned Beamer, JC. So you played for two. You played for the
yep,
Hall of Fame coach Frank Beamer, who I love to death, and you played for Shane, who was on my teammate when I was there at Tech in the late '90s. Um, Shane now, as we literally do this interview, is a candidate for the head coaching job at South Carolina. There's rumors speculating that he could be at Virginia Tech. People want him back. You and I don't know, but just speak briefly, on your time, because I've never known Shane as a coach other than what I see on TV. But I remember I mentioned that Military Bowl. Coach Frank Beamer had just had the surgery, and
mm-hmm.
Shane was his first ever head coaching job, and he was also your position coach, man. Just playing for Shane, how was it? Also, was Frank Beamer ever easy on Shane? How was that dynamic? I just always thought that was interesting, the father and son coaching together at that high level, and you had the
Yeah.
distinct role for playing for both, man, especially Shane. How was it?
So the coaching dynamic between those two, it was kind of cool because Coach Frank, man, he was real hands off. He let everybody kind of do their thing, and he's kind of overseeing. So it wasn't. I don't think I never seen him treat Shane any differently. He was hard on him at times and stuff like that when we weren't performing in the running back room, and he felt like if we weren't running the ball or tough or something like that, he would get on Shane's ass. Um, but man, Shane was a real good coach, man. Some people don't like him or whatever the case may be. Some say he shouldn't get the job. I think he would be a real good candidate, man, for sure. One thing I do know about Shane, man, is his passion, man. His passion for the sport. He brought the energy every single day. He made football fun, man. He really did. And he was kind of one of the reasons why I was able to kind of that during that time, when I got benched and didn't play for a while, he was kind of one of the reasons why, I was kind of able to stay level headed because he would bring me in and he would kind of keep it real with me at times and just say what's real. He kind of uplifted me during that time too. But he was very passionate, and during that military bowl where he filled in as the head coach. I think it was that game.
Yeah, it was a game. That was a game.
Yep. He brought the passion, man. I'll never forget it, man. Right before the game that came in, we had never saw this side of Shane, but right before we was in the locker room, right before the game that started, he came in and he just got us absolutely turned up. And we went out there, and that was why we played, real hard, because the energy that he brought right before the game was different. Everybody was like, whoa, y'all just saw Shane? So, him as a head coach, him bringing that energy every single day to practice, to the game, I think will be real good for Virginia Tech. And then it brings back kind of that familiar face. And I think that's what a lot of people are kind of missing right now when you look at kind of like Virginia Tech football, man, because right now we just don't have like that kind of familiarity. Like everybody's gone. We don't even see like the alumni guy, like the alumni don't even really show up as much anymore, man. Like they used to, when Frank was there. So I think that's kind of what we need. I think, you put the right staff around him, I think they would do really good. And he's an awesome recruiter. He can relate to the guys and everything, man. Real fun guy. I think he would knock it out the park if Virginia Tech came back.
Yeah, and I'll just say this: this is your legacy spotlight, so I want to focus on you. But just to add to that point about Tech, I'll just say this: I know the game of football changes. It's my era is different from your era, but the one constant remains the same about the state of Virginia. Even though Clemson and Alabama and Ohio State and even UNC come down there and pluck some of our top players, the state of Virginia still has enough talent where we should have more Virginia guys at Virginia Tech. What made me have pride in watching Tech, even on the 7-6 seasons or the 8-5 seasons, was that it was cool to see Logan Thomas, a kid from Lynchburg, JC Coleman, a kid from the 7-5. Guys I saw that were from my neighborhoods, from my area, even places like Richmond, where I've been and visited it. And it was cool because, even though you're younger than me, we both know we always felt the best from VA can go against the best from anybody. And
Right.
right now, that's not as prevalent, and hopefully they get back to that because I just think that's the element that's missing. Whether it was D'Angelo Hall and Tyrod or Greg Boone, we got to get guys that are household names. So the youngins that are playing right now at the Wolfpacks, the Cavaliers, and the Warriors up here in Northern Virginia say, hey, I want to be like JC Coleman. You've been
Right.
humble. You and I have talked on Twitter. We've talked in prepping for this interview. You'll never come out and say, oh, yeah, I influenced Andrew Brown, Deshaun McCleese, and all those guys. But
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
some degree, when you're coming to Tech and people behind you that are going to Oscar Smith, they see you shining. It puts a bug in there and say, hey, I
Yeah.
may check out for Tech because JC's up there. And that's the
Yep.
pipeline you create, man. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
that point. Do you agree or
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah. For sure, man. And that's one thing that really hurts me as well, man. It's like we got away from recruiting right in that 757 area, man. I just think I was on Instagram the other day, man, and I'm looking at we got some of the top running backs from the 757 right now, and Pitt came and got them.
Yep.
I'm like Pittsburgh. I'm like, how did Pittsburgh come to the 757 to grab our top two running backs, man? And I'm like, and I haven't really been paying attention to recruiting. I'm kind of out of touch with it now, but I saw that and I was like, whoa.
Yep.
And even now, like Oscar Smith, a lot of those guys, it's a ton of talent at Oscar Smith right now.
Ton.
And I don't even know if any of those guys got offers from Virginia Tech. So, we're really missing, Virginia as a whole. We're missing the mark on recruiting there, and then that 757 area, man. You can really win games just from recruiting from that area, man. We got away from it, man. We really
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. Well, at least they had you. And speaking of Tech, man, as we wrap up this interview, man, when you finished up at Tech, you had that great bowl game. You had a great career at Tech. You persevered. You had great moments. You were a leader. Still one of the most popular players in the university's history on the football field. And even if I'm not mistaken, the jersey, the fan
Yeah,
hooked
yeah,
you up. So you are still beloved. Like when I posted that you were going to be on the Victory Life Legacy Spotlight, fans were just retweeting it and on Facebook, liking it, loving it.
yeah.
Um, what does that mean to you when you think about Hokie Nation? When even though, I played years ago and you played just a few years ago, and guys come and go and we move on to the next crop of people, but they still show love to the point a fan got you a jersey you were looking for, right?
Yep, yep.
What does all that
Sure, I
mean
got
to
it
you?
right here. Matter of
Okay,
fact,
yeah, 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 yeah. It was I remember seeing
yeah,
that
I got
on
it right.
Twitter.
Look at that,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Shout out
Awesome,
that
man.
fan. Who's the fan that got that for you? That's my favorite
Scott
uniform.
loves it, man. Shout out to Scott, man. I really appreciate him for sure. I mean, he made it happen, but it was awesome, man. And it goes back. It really goes back to like I talked about earlier. It's just kind of what I grew up on, and just the whole Hokie respect and everything, man. And throughout my career, from freshman all the way to senior year, no matter what was going on, no matter where I was playing, no matter whether I was, scoring touchdowns or not, I always made sure to do a few things, man. And that was always to, give back to the community. Anytime we had any type of autograph sessions, and I'm really interactive with the fans, and I'm picking up the kids and I'm tossing them up in the air. Any type of camps that we had, the Kevin Jones camps, I made a lot of impact there. With the fans and the kids and everything, and people remember that type of stuff, man, and it went a long way. And I think that's probably why, and then, just recruiting, man, a lot of people, like me for just my passion for Virginia Tech and really wanting to get guys to the program and some of the influence that I did have with that. But, just the respect and everything, man, is what people really had enjoyed and liked about me. And then the leadership portion of it as well, man.
Yeah, man, I completely agree. And it's all love and it's all inspiring. Because like I said, you didn't just recruit guys from Oscar Smith. There was guys at Salem and Phoebus. If you heard about it, you went to their games, their 7-on-7 practices, man. So, it's very appreciative, man. So JC, we come to the final point of our interview, man, where I allow my guests to give their final thoughts, man. And my question to you is you have insight. You've been through injuries, you've seen tragedies growing up, but at the same time, you've had great parents, a family atmosphere at Virginia Tech, Oscar Smith, in your own home. You've seen the benefits of love and respect and hard work. What advice and feedback will you give the next JC Coleman, the next group of young men who want not just to be athletes, because you and I are both more than athletes? What do you tell a group of young men, especially in 2020 when we're still dealing with racial profiling and other issues that we need to overcome, but more importantly, how to stay focused and be a man and not give up like you never gave up? What do you tell people? What are some words of wisdom and feedback you want to tell young men that see this interview or hear about your legacy? What feedback do you have for them?
Yeah, man. For sure, you hit it right on the head, man. Is you always kind of gotta believe in yourself. You gotta bet on yourself, man. And that was what I always did, no matter what was going on, man. I knew my abilities and I knew where I was at, and I knew I could always play at that level and everything. You gotta always bet on yourself, and when you bet on yourself, go and work hard, do it, man, and work like you bet on yourself. Um, and that's one thing about it, man. But you hit it really, you really hit it on the head when you say, the never give up piece. That's something that, for me is what I really take pride on, especially during that time. Never giving up, keeping your head and just really coming to work every single day and preparing, like, no matter what situation you're in, really preparing like you've started. Being that leader, really preparing, and just never giving up is what I would say, and really preach to kids and guys, man. And then just, keep your nose clean, man. It, yeah, just to keep your nose clean, because when I look at college, man, and I look at all the guys that I played with, my freshman year I was playing with Michael Holmes, man, and me and him were freshmen. So had he still had been, he would have been another back that was in the mix too, and he was a damn good back, man. And but I say all that to say this is, if you keep your nose clean, you work hard, and you stay healthy, you're gonna have a shot. Because when I look at it, man, you look at all the running backs that I played with, and you had guys that got kicked off the team, you had guys that were getting injured all the time, you had guys that transfer out, you had guys that for whatever reason they had was going back and forth with the coaches, so the coaches kind of whatever blackball or whatever you want to call it. But if you just kind of stay the course, you're gonna find a way in the field, man, and, in some capacity. And I really believe in that, man. As long as you just work hard, keep your nose clean, and come to work, with a positive attitude.
There it is, man. Wise words from a wise man. That's JC Coleman. Thank you so much, JC, man. JC, excuse me, JZ, another GOAT. But thank you, man. This is great feedback. This has been a lot of fun, man. And I appreciate you jumping on. Like I said, man, I watched your career from the days of Oscar Smith and at Virginia Tech, and even, when I see you jump on social media, Twitter, and you uplift the fan base, and you always stay positive, and you're honest without insulting people, and you respected not just by your peers, but even guys you played against. And that's a very good quality to have. That's why I nicknamed you one of the 757 ambassadors, man.
Yeah, man.
So and when you see your dad and your uncle, man, make sure you send them my love, man. And
yeah, I will.
That's it for today, guys. So like I say every episode, man, on behalf of JC Coleman's family and friends and his even fans, we appreciate you watching this Legacy Spotlight. And for those that support Vicktory Life, I also say thank you. And like I say every episode, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, make sure you leave a positive impact and a great legacy. Thank you, JC.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.